Tēnā koutou katoa, e mihi ana ki ngā mana whenua, tēnei te mihi ki ngā kaiwhakahaere mō tō koutou tono ki ahau ki te kōrero, ko Waio, ki te taha o tōku pāpā, ko Taranaki te maunga, ko Urunui te awa, ko Ngāti Mutunga te iwi, me tōku māma, ko Turamoe te maunga, ko Whātua me kaipara ngā awa, ko Ngāti Whātua me te raroa ōku iwi, ko amputator tōku ingoa, hei ka whakahaere mātua ahau I ARA Journeys. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Hi everyone, thank you for coming out today. Big mihi to Claire, Chantal, Jess and Josh and the wider NZ Games Festival organisers for allowing me to be here today and share our story about what we've been working on. My name is Amber, my whānau are from Taranaki and Northland. I currently live in Auckland and I am the CEO of ARA Journeys. Not going to lie, a little bit daunting standing here in front of you all today because I'm not a game dev, not a software engineer, not a tech artist, definitely not a computer scientist. Actually, I have very little technical know-how whatsoever. So, how does a non-game dev, non-tech artist, non-software engineer get to be standing here in front of you today? I actually still don't know the answer to that. But I figured it's something to do with having started a mobile gaming company, having zero knowledge of games, zero knowledge of game development, no funding and no investment out of my own pocket. So this morning I'm going to tell you about the story of ARA and take you on a journey of creating a very unique 100% Māori owned gaming company. So the whakatauki that I put up on our slide, kia whakatōmuri te haere whakamua, it's one of the whakatauki that our company actually uses with everything we build, and what it means is you walk into the future with your eyes fixed on the past. For me, it's like learning the lessons before us from our ancestors and our tūpana, and then how we bring that into our everyday current living, and then how we weave that through to future generations as well. So, to give you a little bit of assurance that I kind of have a little bit of knowledge about what I'm talking about, I got my first taste of technology back when I was 7 and my parents got me a Commodore 64. So this is really showing my age now, and I don't know how many people are familiar with this computer, but you had floppy disks, you loaded code in to make it work. Pac-Town was actually my favourite game, and it's where you had the little Pac-Man, he ran through the centre, jumping over things and collecting coins along his journey. I actually played that game for ages. I did clock it too, by the way. Just FYI. And then after that, I got addicted to Crash Bandicoot and clocked that also. So yeah, that was my favourite game, and I loved the computer, but the novelty kind of wore off, and as I grew up, I really got into murder mysteries and wanted to be a forensic scientist, and I was such a fun child at home to be around. So I went down that path, then wanted to be a tech artist, and then Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was really big, so I wanted to marry Will Smith. That didn't pan out for me. Yeah, still not married. But I did end up going down an information systems marketing route and then spending about a decade, or just over a decade, working in a research and innovation office for AUT. So the next video I'm going to play for you is actually a real nice showcase of the work that I was involved with, working with our professors at the university. AUT aren't paying me to play this video, and it's by no means a plug for them. It's just a real great snapshot of the work that I was doing within the university, and kind of gives you a real good breadth of an idea of kind of the technology that I was involved in there. And with a bit of luck, the guys are going to play it. So this was actually my event that I organised with our professors.
I'd like to give you a very warm welcome to this year's Research and Innovation Showcase event, where we're also launching our Interact Centre of Technology Excellence.
It acknowledges efforts to bring together a group of highly skilled researchers to develop new data technologies and advanced data analytics applications.
In this space, we're using the motion capture data not for recording animations. We're using it in real time to change the perspective of a virtual camera. You can literally walk through the environments in this space and explore them, visualizing data in a more than visual way.
What we're doing with the drones is we're actually doing survey work. We're mapping conservation areas, basically take thousands of photos, create 3D landscapes.
Working with lots of different industry partners, taking data, see how we can use our drones to solve real-world problems.
So what you'll see from that video and threaded throughout some of the projects that we've been working on and creating within ARA is some of that technology that I've brought through into the company with me. So AR, VR continued to fascinate me, as well as data and the artificial intelligence side of things, and it was probably the one discipline in the digital technology space that I could see a really good fit for across a lot of different use cases. So it kind of stuck with me for quite a while, actually. And in 2017, I met my now business partner, Dr. Isaac Warbrick. So Isaac's interest in AR was for getting people outdoors. His background is actually in Māori health and physical activity. So he's from a health research background. But he's also very, very interested in history, all history, not just Māori history, and history and events that took place at specific locations. So that's kind of his field there. For me, my interest was around growing up urban Māori and having a little bit of a disconnect back to whakapapa. So one day when we were talking, we were kind of discussing these different avenues. His was around the stories and of places that nobody knew about, and mine was like, well, how do urban Māori actually feel about going home and reconnecting? Because you'll find if you talk to a lot of them, there's a lot of, people are a little bit whakamā to go home and reconnect, and they always kind of either put it off or it takes them a lot longer. So what we wanted to do was kind of think about, well, how can we bring their stories to them? So for mine, it was bringing Taranaki stories to Auckland so that I actually had a little bit of an understanding of my whakapapa, of our stories, and where I came from. And as the conversations grew, the ideas started coming out, and the more and more we talked, we realised, and the more we talked to other people, we realised that we weren't the only ones that kind of felt like this. There was a huge, like a really large number of people who were also feeling the same. So we decided, we knew that technology was only going to get better, we knew that kids were into gaming, and we knew that there was a problem that we wanted to try and solve. So Isaac and I are pretty good at bouncing ideas off each other, and one of the key terms in the company is, wouldn't it be cool if? And so Isaac and I normally start conversations like this. Wouldn't it be cool if? We had our own Māori character that told iwi stories in relation to the whenua, to the land, and stories of how they lived off the land and what the land provided for them pre-colonisation. Now, Pokemon Go kind of proved the concept that if the game was good, people were going to get moving. We had a lot of people in Auckland running around the city trying to collect Pokemon. I had friends that were driving from Auckland to Tauranga chasing Pokemon. It was crazy. And the Pokemon phenomenon for us kind of brought to light the games area. And this is where we started really looking at augmented reality in that space. But we wanted to do something better. So, building off the Pokemon Go concept, we came up with a plan to create an AI character to tell our iwi stories of a stream in Manukau City. The character would talk about the ika, the fish that once lived in that stream, the native birds, the wildlife that was in the area, as well as the plantation that once grew in paddocks that are now taken over by apartment blocks in the urban dwellings. So, in order to get this project off the ground, I pulled together this really cool-looking PowerPoint. Actually, it wasn't as cool-looking as this, but it was a good PowerPoint back then, in 2017. We pitched it to a local community organisation, and they ended up giving us money to build a small MVP, which we thought was really, really cool. So this is how we kind of got started. We built the MVP, which is the original manu. We launched this at a community event. Organisers loved it. The community loved it, and within 5 weeks, we had our first contract. One of the key takeouts from the first manu build was actually this quote here from Anaru Akio, who's a Māori systems innovator with healthy families, and there's no better way to sum it up than actually having his quote up there. The effect of pairing Māori systems with innovation like this is not just systems change, but systems return. This means taking us back to our traditional ways of being, where we rely on our environment as indicators of time, health, and wellness. So that was pretty special to us, and it kind of stuck with us for quite a long time before we decided what to do next. And by long time, I mean 5 weeks, because within 5 weeks we had our first actual big paid contract on the table, and that's when Isaac and I looked at each other and went, oh, we better start a company, because we're to be GST registered, we're to be a preferred supplier with this council organisation, but we actually didn't have a company, we just had a product. So that's when ARA was born, and right from the get-go, we decided that we wanted the company to be different. We wanted everything under the ARA brand to fit within these 3 categories. Whatever we built must preserve Indigenous knowledge for future generations. It must encourage connection to taiao, to our natural environment, and it must promote our Indigenous stories. We took the lessons from that first build that I just showed you, and the largest sum of money. We now made it bigger manu. He was a lot better, and he was GPS enabled. The new app had hidden puzzles and games locked into it, which he unlocked by collecting the stories, and then we could also drop manu in over 200 locations throughout the world. Without realising it at the time, we had also created the first ever bilingual Reo Māori and English AR character. So no one had actually done that before we came with manu, which was really, really cool. It also, at this point, that Isaac and I agreed that neither of us actually knew what we were doing around games. So it was probably a good idea at that time to bring in someone who did. And so it was after building the second version of manu, and before receiving the High Tech Finalist nomination, that we got in touch with Ben Kenobi, and Ben joined the team then, and I think a lot of you already know Ben. So this is a little look at with manu. We made him in the motion capture, which you would have seen on the AUT video that we played. And I've got actually our other video to show you guys the depth that we went to when we built this one. ARA was established with the purpose of preserving the Indigenous stories of New Zealand. Inspired by and during our mātauranga Māori, we design interactive augmented reality games that take you on a journey through whakapapa.
We believe there's tremendous value in enabling iwi to share their stories in a way that they want to share them. With geolocation, our Ko Ngā Haere Manu app enables us to direct tourists to particular sites to hear stories that may not have been told, making manu a 21st century wayfinder.
We know kids are digital natives, and we know that they enjoy games. So we gamified our adventure into an app. But we didn't stop there. We also created the first bilingual augmented reality character that encourages us all to learn te reo Māori.
Many Māori no longer have a strong connection with te taiao, the environment, or the cultural stories that connect us to the environment, particularly in urban settings. With the passing of our tupuna, of our kaumātua, we're losing many of those stories.
We're on a journey guided by our tupuna. We're learning how to navigate and connect in today's world. Kia whakatōmuri, te haere, whakamua. My past is my present, is my future. So we're pretty proud of manu and the traction that we got with that second build that we took to market, but this wasn't really what got us excited about our mahi and the work that we're creating. What manu taught us was that there was a desire far bigger than what we thought for Indigenous knowledge. We had more interest from both Māori and non-Māori who wanted to learn different Māori practices along the way of journeys, and as well as maramataka tikanga and mātauranga Māori. So there was like this massive influx of people who wanted to see more and more of manu. The other cool thing with manu is we had parents that were now willing to let their kids use mobile devices because we had provided an educational game for them to play while they were outdoors. The other thing that we really loved about manu is that our rangatahi, our younger generations that are coming through the schooling systems, now had a character that they could relate to, because previously Māori and Pacifica in the schools that we were working with, they couldn't see themselves in tech, And then when they saw Manu come along, and actually if you listen to the introduction to Manu, he does his pepeha and he's from Manukau. So the kids from Manukau region, they'd be like, oh, he's just like me. And we're like, yeah, he's just like you. So now they had this vehicle that they could see moving in Manu that was getting their eyes open, seeing how it related back to them, back to their stories, and then thinking for themselves, well, how do I bring my story into the tech space? And that's what really got us excited. So Manu started making good traction, which was cool, and we kind of left him doing his thing. He's now in 65 locations throughout New Zealand and in 5 different countries. We won some pretty cool awards with Manu. Not only did we make high-tech finalists for 2019, but we also were the only Māori company to be invited to Rise Technology Showcase in Hong Kong. And so Rise is one of Asia's largest technology showcases in the world. So that was pretty special going over there. And Manu is actually in Hong Kong still today, one of the locations. But yeah, so with Manu, we knew that we could do better. So in 2019, we actually pitched a concept to Foundation North, and we won more funding to build this project called Tūwhiri. But I'm going to come back to Tūwhiri later, because as well as winning the funding for Tūwhiri, Callaghan Innovation came to the party and put out a funding call for innovative environmental technology applications to solve climate change problems. And we kind of looked at each other. We had a bit of wiggle room with the Tūwhiri contract, so we could park that for a little while, and kind of like all our questions start. Wouldn't it be cool if we could transform a generation of gamers into citizen scientists? And so that became our new mission. How do we get gamers to venture outside and participate in citizen science projects and collect data that was going to have an impact on real-world research projects that we're trying to, and our professors that were trying to tackle some of the largest climate change issues in the world. And that's when Ahika Rangers was born. So Ahika Rangers is a lot different to what we had been working on. The game was based on collecting data. You did the citizen science missions. That data fed back into the research projects that these professors were working on, and then you played the game that ran alongside it. So lucky for us, we now had Ben on the team, because what we noticed was there were citizen science games that were already out there, but none of them had a good game flow with it. And so what we wanted to do was change that and keep the re-engagement, because that's where our scientists were struggling. They had people that would race out and collect data for them, but they weren't re-engaging. And we were like, okay, well, we can use game mechanics to do that. And if we get the game built properly, then hopefully we can get gamers outside collecting data as well. Like, our citizen scientists are already engaged, but how do we boost the numbers that are coming through? So the cool thing with Ahika Rangers is, going back to our values, we actually weave Te Ao Māori principles right through it. For centuries, our tūpuna relied on signs and environmental signs that helped us live and thrive when we first arrived to Aotearoa, and we wanted to bring that back to light. COVID lockdown last year, 2020, yeah, last year, taught us that, observational research and observational science is really still beneficial today, and that's what our tūpuna did back in the day. Like, we've got all these rich stories that are coming to the limelight now of how our people lived, and how they actually lived based on the stars and the moon and what the birds were doing around them. And so this is what we wove into the Ahika Rangers game. So Ahika Rangers ended up winning a few awards as well. We got highly commended for C Prize in 2019, and then this year we became a part of the Unity family. Sorry, Unreal Engine, because I know you sponsored this. We became part of the Unity whānau, and we actually won a grant from them for the Unity for Humanity award that they've got. So what Ahika Rangers does is, it's an innovative game that educates players to have a positive impact on the environment, both in-game and in real life. So we want you to go out, collect the data, you earn more rewards, but you can also play the game at home if you wanted to. By weaving the Te Ao Māori throughout the gameplay, we were able to provide a new way of understanding biomes and environmental systems, And then we were teaching players how to care and protect for their environment as well. So we partnered with OMG Tech to build Ahika ranges. OMG Tech actually have a lot of knowledge around the environmental sciences, citizen science space, and that's kind of the part that we were lacking from our company. So partnering with them, we're able to come up with the Ahika concept and transverse both the Western science as well as Te Ao Māori space. The cool part with that game is that the platform could actually accommodate not only citizen science projects, but observational research, so you could collect data within an 8-kilometre radius. And we also catered to school curriculum. So one of the things we want to do once we're finished working with Unity is get Ahika ranges approved for NCEA and going through the school system. So it's still a little bit of a work in progress, Ahika ranges, but now that we've joined the Unity whānau, we have access to their global gaming experts. So what we're looking to do there is finish the build out of the data platform and then take that live and then take that to the world. So this brings me back to tūwhiri. Wouldn't it be cool if we rewarded people for learning stories and getting outdoors with real rewards? And that's the concept of tūwhiri. So this game's kind of my favourite because basically what tūwhiri does is it turns you into Pac-Man, and we're going to reward you for running around town, jumping over things and collecting little story nodes. And by reward, we're talking about real rewards. So there's a reward system that's built in there. Oh, the video's okay.
Tatu set out in pursuit, chasing Manai and his family across the rock ridges there to the east. But determined, the proud elder called to Tangaroa, the god of the sea, for days, hoping to find. Ngāpuhi recited an incantation to make his kite line catch his brother's and cause the kite to break away and drift east towards home. He would then descend with outstretched wings and call out with an albatross karanga to the delight of her friend. To Aotearoa, the giant Taniwha was appointed guardian of the Manukau harbour.
So some of the cool things about tūwhiri. We've taken the need for a screen away and we want you to reconnect with the environment. So you can play the game without actually looking at your mobile phone. Or if you wanted to, you can choose to watch the stories, and there's augmented reality features that are going to be embedded in there. The game also integrates with public transport, so you can book your journey, or not book it, but you can plan your journey through the app. You can see what stories are going to be along your route, and then you can look at what public transport is available in your area to get you to those stories if you wanted to. The other cool thing with tūwhiri is that you can integrate the game into your day-to-day commuter journeys, tourist activities, or even if you're doing one-off visits for the weekend, or while earning digital rewards that you can then invest into local business. So with the reward system within tūwhiri, the other thing that we really wanted to do, especially given COVID last year, was help New Zealand build back better. And the way that we thought we could do that was to help local businesses gain more traction, get more customers, and we could drive business through to them using the game. So the rewards that you collect within tūwhiri are designed to be spent within the community that you're collecting those rewards. You won't find Farmers or Burger King or McDonald's or anything like that in the platform. It is for New Zealand owned and operated shops. So if that's your thing, that's probably not the game you want to be playing. But there's cool stories, so go and learn them anyway. So the cool thing with tūwhiri is not only did we get the Foundation North funding to build that, but we also won a NZ Film Commission Award, and that was awarded, I think, this year, either this year or last year. Which is really, really cool because we actually haven't even launched tūwhiri yet. The soft launch is next weekend with our Break the Game event. Yay. Yeah, we want you to break the game. I wanted to use hack, but apparently that's not a good word to be going out on social media with. So it had to be break the game. One of the other things we realised in building Tūwhiri was that iwi really, really wanted their stories told, but they wanted it done right. And it's been a real long process to get the content nailed and get the content right, but we're glad that we took that time to do it, and we've managed to come up with what we feel is a really good platform that they're going to use for years and years to come. And so Tūwhiri will roll out across the nation and then eventually over to international waters as well. So with all of that done, our three main projects, somewhere in between Ahikara Rangers and Tūwhiri, we had to grow the team. So this is our current team. You've already seen us featured. But this is our unicorn Weber, and I call him a unicorn because he is a super, super cool dude who is an amazing software engineer, but also has knowledge of AWS systems. He knows about cybersecurity and blockchain, and he is currently helping upskill our intern turned employee software junior developer, James, and getting him up into a senior position as well within the company. So one of the things we're really big on is growing capability within the team and within the staff that we bring on board. Generally, any interns that come through ARA, we're going to look to ring fence a career for them, because doing a short, sharp internship within a game company doesn't really get you much experience. So we kind of want to make it a little bit longer and a little bit more worthwhile with the internships that we offer. Cool thing about James is prior to going back to university to study as a software engineer, he was actually an audio engineer and produced some of New Zealand's top New Zealand hip-hop artists' albums back in the day. So I think he's worked with the likes of Savage, Aradna, and the Dawn Raid crew, which has come in really, really handy actually. And this little character over here, well, we're currently on the hunt for a tech artist, so if there's anyone out there that wants to come work for us and you're a tech artist, come see me, or if you've got recommendations, please email. So yeah, sorry, a little plug for the company. But what have these three builds taught us? Well, if we go back to our values and the company values, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's no mention of technology in any of our values. And that's because technology for us is a vehicle, it's not the destination. This is the destination, and that's where we want to be at. Technology is the vehicle that's going to help us get there. So if we look at preserving Indigenous knowledge for future generations, well, the desire for alternative ways of living and being is there, and people are really, really hungry for this knowledge. Technology can make this knowledge accessible to the masses. Encouraging connection, promoting Indigenous stories. Well, Indigenous people, not only here, but worldwide, because we're working overseas as well, are ready to start sharing their narratives. They're willing to listen and learn, and what immersive technology does in that space is it brings their stories to life, and it gives people, it brings their stories to life, and it brings it into the digital era, which makes it more relevant for the future generations that are coming through. It also enables us to capture that knowledge before our elder pass away. And then with the connection back to Te Taiao, more and more people are ready to connect or reconnect. You saw it happen over COVID when people decided to chill out for a little bit and all the fish came back into the streams in Auckland, or the native wildlife came back, and people kind of came to realise that, you know what, we need to do better, and we need to do better with protecting our land. And so the games are providing additional incentives for people to start doing that now. So we just celebrated our 3rd birthday in March. We've done some pretty cool things in the 3 years that we've been around. First company to become NZ High Tech Awards finalists before we celebrated our 1st birthday. We were the first Māori company ever to be invited to present at the Rise Tech Conference in Hong Kong. First Māori company to become a Callaghan Sea Prize finalist and go on to win a highly commended award. We were the first New Zealand company to be awarded a place on the Unity for Humanity program and join the global Unity family. And this kind of made me reflect on how we got here. And so my top 3 pieces of advice for you, if you're looking to get into the industry, or if you're looking to start your own company and you're like us and you had no money to do so and no investment offers on the door at the time, take risks. Just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean it can't be done. I'm a real firm believer in that, and I'm quite the risk taker, to be honest. In our team, I'm kind of the let's have a go and see what happens. person. So yeah, take risks, back yourself, and have a go. Build a really, really good team. I've got an amazing team behind me that help bring everything to life. We work like a family. We're like whānau. And to be honest, we wouldn't be here today, and we wouldn't have got the traction that we did if we didn't have an amazing team. And if you came to my talk on Tuesday, you would have heard me talking about hiring for passion, which is something that I'm passionate about. But I don't hire based on grades, and that I'll hire a C- student over an A+ student if they're more passionate about our values and what the company's trying to do. And I found that's really set us in good stride for future work and where we want to head. And then my last piece of advice, network like crazy. I don't know if you noticed, but in all those stories, we had actually collaborated or partnered with someone other than just us. So we're not out there, even though we're doing the main piece of the work and the platforms belong to us, it's not just us. We've collaborated, we've worked. It's actually our industry partners that have promoted the work for us. So I'm a little bit embarrassed to tell you this because I do have a marketing background, but our marketing's actually really, really not that good. And we have relied really heavily on word of mouth, and that's been because we've built those relationships, we've got good partnerships, and we've got champions now out there in government agencies, in local organisations, and in iwi that are willing to back us and to find work for us. So what's next for ARA? Well, wouldn't it be cool if we flooded the world with games based on our Indigenous stories, knowledge and languages, so that our future generations will always have access to their history, their culture, and their identity. Kia ora. I can't see you.
Hello? There we go. Kia ora hoa, karaweto kōrero. Now, we do have a moment for questions, so please, I encourage you, if you have any questions based on the talk you just heard, please, haere mai, come on over, and don't be shy. We also have had a couple of questions come in from Twitter as well. Questions such as, this one comes from Drea Inc. Kia ora, Amber. Have you considered including the Great Kereru count in your citizen scientist game?
We have. It will be built in there.
Oh, fantastic. We also have another question from Gabita Rock. Hi, Amber. I saw you mentioned blockchain in your science research game. Can I ask how is it related to it?
Okay, how am I going to answer this? There's, so in terms of blockchain, I'm not talking about cryptocurrencies within the system. It's actually looking at the way that blockchain runs and operates in the terms of having the approvals scattered across the multiple servers. I'm trying to think how I'm going to do this. So what we're looking to do there is for the big grantee, like $1 million research projects that the professors around the world are working on, they actually need a different type of validated data. So the data that's coming in through Ahiko Ranges will go into a central hub, but there's actually different versions of a dashboard that you can get. So that big grantee research data projects that they're working on, we actually have to have the data validated in a different way. And one way that we looked at doing that was to use similar concepts to blockchain and disseminate those images out across multiple people for approval to help validate what was coming through.
Fantastic. This question comes in from Sarah M. Noble. Are Tūwhiri stories also in Te Reo?
Yes.
Can we ask, not yes and no questions, please?
Yes, they are.
No, I'm joking. Also, what does it mean for oratory cultures to have their stories solidified in a scripted dialogue?
Ooh. That's from a film person, eh? What does it mean to them? Well, I think for starters, what we've done differently with the content that's coming through and being put into the Tūwhiri platform is that we're working really closely, and I'm going to use iwi because we're prototyping here in New Zealand with iwi. We work really closely with iwi to make sure that the script and the story content and the storyline that comes through is exactly what they want. We do have to chop and change things around to obviously make the story a little bit more dramatic or to cut it down to make it a little bit shorter, but there's also other things that we've put in place that accommodate those longer stories and different versions of it that are coming through. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yes. Finally, I actually just want to say from a personal point as well, as a young Māori child growing up in the 90s, I found it very easy for myself to become disconnected from my iwi and also my culture. And I just wanted to say that if I had something like this, I'm pretty sure I'd be far more fluent. All right, thank you so much for your talk.
Thank you.